Hello, I'm Dr. Terry Susan Fine, Content Specialist for the Florida Joint Center for Citizenship, which is part of the School of Politics, Security, and International Affairs at the University of Central Florida in Orlando. Welcome to our Middle School Civics Highlights series. Today we focus our attention on benchmark CG 4.2, describe the United States and citizen participation in international organizations. In Part 2, we focus on the advantages and disadvantages of U.S. membership in international organizations. In Benchmark Clarification 2, we focus on students discussing the advantages and disadvantages of U.S. membership in international organizations. And naturally, we ask the same question as well. What is the purpose of international organizations? International organizations are usually established to encourage the cooperation of nations, ensuring the preservation of peace and commerce. Commerce is another word for trade. Some international organizations form to protect human rights, while other international organizations focus on economic and trade issues. While these organizations have members from countries around the world, the United States is a leading member in many of them. Let's compare and contrast the advantages and disadvantages of U.S. membership in international organizations. One of the big advantages is the global cooperation to tackle global issues such as the environment. Think about this. The environment doesn't know where nations' borders stop and start. So it's very important to be involved in international cooperation because the environment is a global issue. The environment might be affected by certain behaviors and activities within particular countries, but ultimately with the wind and with other kinds of elements that carry the impact of the environment to other places around the world, that means that it's really important to focus our attention globally. Global cooperation to tackle global issues can result in improvements of the United States economy and protecting American security. One of the disadvantages of U.S. membership in international organizations is that there might be rules and regulations that organization imposes that can reduce the power of the president to act or respond on the international stage. In other words, the powers of the president are limited to what is included in the United States Constitution. However, as a condition of being a member of an international organization, that international organization may require that the president not engage in using some of those powers. And that's where a disadvantage might be perceived or seen. Another advantage is that international organization membership allows the United States to have increased influence on international policy and protect American interests abroad. Well, this makes good sense. One of the realities of participating in problem solving is that a person needs to be present to help solve a problem. So the United States is going to have increased influence on international policy, provided that it's a member of an organization that is making international policy. And one of the consequences of that is the opportunity to protect American interest abroad, meaning American interests outside of the United States. But another disadvantage is the potential loss of American sovereignty, a potential loss of the United States for being able to do what it wants as a condition of membership in an international organization. One other advantage is that membership strengthens alliances and relationships between countries. And yet at the same time, this might mean that the U.S. becomes involved in conflicts that do not affect the United States' national interests, such as the Vietnam War. One of the issues that historians look at when they look at the Vietnam War is What was the interest of the United States in supporting South Vietnam when it was attacked by North Vietnam, a communist country? What was the reason for that? And look at all the lives that were lost. Over 55,000 lives were lost in the Vietnam conflict, and it went on for many, many years. It also took people who were drafted to serve in the military during that time, took them out of college, took them out of their opportunities to pursue college and other opportunities, and consequently, many might have questioned since the Vietnam conflict, and then in light of the protests during the Vietnam conflict, what was the U.S. interest in its involvement in this conflict? Other people argue that membership in international organizations helps spread democracy around the world. And the more democracies there are around the world, the safer that the United States is going to be, because a country that's a democracy is not going to see the United States as an enemy, but rather as a good big friend, meaning the United States is large, it has a large economy, and it might come and defend then another democracy, but not to defend a country that's not a democracy. So spreading democracy around the world serves the interests of the countries that are democracies as well as United States interests. But at the same time, there are some who say that being members of international organizations costs the United States and American citizens billions of dollars to support. For example, the United Nations is headquartered in New York City. And one of the concerns that has been raised by different political activists is that membership in the United Nations, simply by hosting the physical location of the United Nations, costs the country too much money. So these issues are certainly quite informative and help us look at different sides of various issues in order to get a good sense about where people see the advantages and the disadvantages of U.S. membership in international organizations. Thank you for joining me for Middle School Civics Highlights. If you still have questions, please contact us using the information that appears on the screen. Till next time, I'm Dr. Terry Susan Fine. Thank you for joining me.